Hi, today we are going to talk about how the ongoing Ukraine crisis will affect Bitcoin price. Okay, recent sanctions against Russia have caused a spike in cryptocurrency as Moscow looks way to shore up its finance and steady its economy. If you have been following this ongoing war, this ongoing crisis in Ukraine, you understand that uh, the U.S. and its allies have imposed sanctions on Russia. So on this part of the equation, it could be somewhat bullish for BTC and cryptocurrency in general because all other countries are going to look for alternative because they're going to ask like this question like, what if my country gets sanctioned in the future, right? Because sanctions will be used and all these like economic weapons will be used more frequently because people don't want real wars, right? So financial war, financial sanctions, financial actions against other country will be normalized in the future. So people want another alternative path for permissionless transactions. So cryptocurrency could possibly actually benefit from this crisis from this angle. Okay, and we can see that actually Bitcoin price actually go up, right? You can see that it's actually started below 40,000 and it is beginning to trade above for 40,000. It's almost near 45,000. So as we can see, Bitcoin has actually climbed higher over the last 5 days as Russia paused into the coin amid sanction from the West. So this is very clear because they can't use dollar in global trade, they can't use yen, they can't use euro. All the US allies actually are stopping Russia from using these currencies, their native currencies, right? So we see the Russian currency, the Russian ruble, falling rapidly, but they begin to pour their money into cryptocurrency because they can sell their assets in cryptocurrency. So they because you cannot sanction someone on the blockchain. The blockchain is permissionless. Right? It doesn't care. It doesn't have a centralized authority to stop someone from using it. Yeah. And of course, people know this, right? And that's why the Ukraine vice prime minister on Sunday called on all major crypto exchanges to block address of Russian users. But again, I don't think that will be useful because there's DeFi, there's DeFi, and it is and it's very easy for a national entity to get around with KYC. Right? They can be American or German using the centralized exchange, but they are acting on behalf of the Russian government. You can never know about this, right? So it's very extremely difficult to block people to use cryptocurrencies. Okay, to unilaterally decide to ban people's access to their crypto will fly in the face of the reason why crypto exists. This is what CZ reply, right? So basically, I think there's going to be very little compliance on that in the crypto space. So all these currencies, it's not just Russians using these currencies, right? The Ukrainians are also using this currency because all the banks actually all the banks or online transactions are actually shut down due to the war. A lot of people actually have they in theory they have money, but because banks are closed down, internet banking have been shut down. So they have money, but they cannot access it, and they have a problem buying food. And with crypto, actually, the refugees and people who actually live in the war-torn cities, they can actually buy food. So this could actually cause a crypto boom. But however, it could be bearish if things get escalated too badly, right? If we are talking about like using nuclear weapons between the great powers, then that will cause all asset classes to fall, right? Because if the world is in danger of a nuclear crisis, then no asset will have any real value for real use anymore because the nuclear winter will destroy the world. So things, if let's say things carry on in their current status of affairs, which is escalating economic warfare without any without any threat of real physical war going out of the territory of Ukraine, that could be somewhat bullish for cryptocurrency. I think this is my opinion for the trend. And also worth noting is that another thing that's related to crypto finance is actually neutral Swiss drawing EU sanction against Russia in BRIC with pass, right? So because we know Switzerland is actually a neutral party. They don't draw any alliance. They're not even in the United Nations. So they don't have any sort of obligation to follow any kind of sanction, right? But actually this time actually neutral Swiss joined EU sanction against Russia. So this is a major turning point. Because people who are concerned about the Russian-Ukraine crisis are looking at it from a humanitarian point of view, right? Or they are looking from a geopolitical point of view or national interest point of view. So there are some people who actually support Ukraine and some people who actually support Russia, but that doesn't matter for the global business community. The global business community actually are looking at it from a different angle in that they're asking about is my money safe in Switzerland, right? So they're going to interpret this as a very dangerous precedent. So this means that next time if I say but we don't know, right? Let's say if you are a Chinese national or you are a Middle Eastern national, that if you have money in Swiss, you could have your asset frozen, right? Which through no fault of your own, because average people don't have any influence. Average people don't have any influence over the domestic policy making of their home country. So this is going to set a dangerous precedent. People are going to view that their asset in Swiss not as safe as before. But this trend doesn't actually start with this incident, right? Because the world is actually going more and more into global transparency rather than opaqueness, which means that tax haven, like safe haven countries such as Swiss or Cayman Island are not going to be that safe anymore in the future, right? Because we already know that actually under the Obama administration, they actually managed to get Switzerland to hand over the name list of the U.S. nationals and who have their assets in Switzerland and they are suspected of tax evasion. So we already know that from that incident under Obama administration, Switzerland is not that safe anymore. So this actually just confirms the trend, right? So Switzerland is. So this will cause a crisis for Switzerland in the long-term future, right? Because their long-term competitiveness of the economy rely very much on their financial service, especially banking secrecy, right? So if banking secrecy is obsolete or no longer applied, how are they going to compete with the rest of the world? So we don't know about that, but I think so the world is actually moving towards more transparency, which means that privacy is going to be sacrificed. This means that people who are looking for more privacy are actually going to look for alternative solutions such as cryptocurrency. So this actually could be bullish for Bitcoin in general. Right? So I think this ongoing crisis in Ukraine is actually more bullish for crypto than bearish, provided that we don't escalate into something like a World War III kind of stuff. Right? Okay, then I will also talk a little bit on the non-finance side, on the geopolitical side of the crisis. So there's a lot of misinformation because people can't really confirm any of their information is true anymore, because there's a lot of misinformation, a deliberate misinformation from both sides of the conflict, and we don't know what is true, what is false, and basically Ukraine claimed that like 13 soldiers died defending the Snake Island, and Russia claimed that it is false. Everyone just surrendered and they are alive. 80 soldiers surrendered. So we don't know we don't know what was the truth. And right now, only until very much later, when we look back, we could actually know what really happened. So I'm going to look at it from more like that, from the economic angle. Economic angle, right? Why did this crisis happen, and in what way it could be it could have been prevented, right? So we know that actually before Russia attacked Ukraine, Russia blamed NATO and the US for making an enemy out of Russia, for all their provocative actions, right? So we could see that actually Russia has the main trading partners, main trading partners of Russia, China, European countries such as Netherlands, Germany, and Belarus, and United States is fifth, right? So United States is not that important trading partner of Russia, but it's still somewhat important because United States is a large country, large economy. But if you are actually looking from the United States point of view, right? So from the United States point of view, Russia ranked 30 in terms of, let's say, trading relationship. So Russia is not that important to the United States as a trading partner. So on the other hand, if we compare like China is like okay, next to European Union in terms of, let's say, trading relationship with the United States. So you can see that that's the difference, right? So in China, between China and United States, there's a lot of like quarreling and verbal disagreement, but actually very little. There's very little like say, economic sanctions ongoing between these two countries because they are so economically intertwined. And yeah, but for Russia, it's not that important to the United States. So United States doesn't really have an incentive to trade Russia as a friend because sad to say, monetary relationship is the best foundation for all types of relationship. And because if United States actually have a lot of trading capital and investment in Russia, and that will be a very different story. And the Ukraine war maybe would not have happened, and that's a possibility. And then we're also looking at the investment. So if we look at the FDI in Russia, so who are the people actually investing in Russia? It's not United States for sure. So the top investor in Russia are actually Germany and China. Okay, I can't find the list right now. So basically Germany and China actually are the major investor of Russian economy. So the reason why Russian economy is the reason why US and Russian economy is actually not that good. It's actually there's actually very little economic relationship between the two. So United States doesn't have an incentive to trade Russia very well, and under the Democrats rule, under the Obama, and we see that under Obama and under Joe Biden rule, right? Because Democrat usually pursue a strong dollar policy, which actually means that U.S. dollar needs to be a very important role, needs to play a very important role in the U.S. economy. And for US, dollar to play a very strong role in the US position in the global economy, US needs to show it herself as a strong global policeman, right? If you want to become a strong global police, you need a bad guy. So in this case, the bad guy is Russia, right? So the reason is actually the reason for deteriorating the relationship between Russia and the United States, in my opinion, has a lot to do with the global with the relationship of these two countries on along the economic lines, right? Because they don't have any incentive to be friends to begin with. And in fact, if Russia is seen as the bad guy, right? If Russia is actually seen as the bad guy in Europe, it's actually beneficial for the United States, because we see now US dollar is doing well. US dollar, US equity is doing well because of the this all this crisis, money are actually leaving Europe to United States, right? And when you see the Trump administration, actually the opposite seems to be true. Trump administration actually is pursuing a weak dollar policy, right? Because actually what Donald Trump wants is actually the factories to go back to US, and he wants US to produce, which means that the US dollar cannot be too strong. If US dollar is very strong, then it's very difficult to actually US to export. He's emphasizing a lot on other people buying the goods made in US. Right? So in that case, he doesn't need a strong dollar policy. If he doesn't need a strong dollar policy, he doesn't need to run a global US empire. He doesn't want to actually police the whole world, because policing the world is more of a liability than an asset if you don't need a strong dollar. So I think there's actually a lot of economic reasons why the US and Russia relationship is in this way. And the third reason has to be with, I think has to be with Russia's issue. Russia is having a demographic crisis, right? They have a shrinking population, and Putin hopes that Russia to become at least even if not a global power, at least a regional power in Europe. But with a shrinking population, it's very difficult to do that, because we know that raw power is come from your GDP size. So even if let's say you compare India versus Switzerland, right? Switzerland is a rich country, right, with a high GDP per capita, but India is definitely more powerful on the global stage because the overall size of the economy and the force it can project, right? So if Russia wants to do the same thing, like if you can't have a shrinking population, because you have a population which is not too large to begin with, right? 140 million, which is less than half of the United States, and it's even less than Indonesia, right? So and many other countries of South America, which I believe have even a larger population. So if you have such a small, if you have a population that's not big to begin with, and you have a shrinking population, even if your GDP can grow modestly, right, you're not going to become a world power by. You're not going to become a world power anytime soon. In fact, your power is going to shrink, and that is not going well for Russia. So we see the annexation of Crimea and this attack on Ukraine and taking over all these territories, right? So it's not going after the land; they are going after the people, the Russian-speaking people in Europe, right? So it's more of like it's more of like a conflict. This is kind of a conflict that we have never seen before, because in the past people go to war to fight for resources and land, right? So now what Russia doing is opposite. They're fighting or doing this invasion to acquire more people, especially Russian-speaking people, to be part of their to be part of the federation, or at least under the sphere of influence. So this is more of a fight for people, right? But of course, doing that will create a lot of friction with her neighbor, as we have seen. Okay, that's all my sharing for today. Yeah.